Boker Tov, Shalom, everybody. Good to see you. Thank you for joining me here today. We are progressing our way through the Mitzvahs of the Torah. Warren, how's it going? Good. Baruch Hashem, my friend. Say Baruch Hashem. BH. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. You know, it's actually very, very interesting. I had an inspiration this morning. When I was learning the Hayom Yom, good morning, Daniel. When I was learning the Hayom Yom today, it says as follows, something fascinating. It's beautiful when you're able to study Torah on an ever deeper level. So there's a Hayom Yom that I've studied maybe 20 years, and today it just got a whole new depth for me. It says in Hayom Yom today like this, that even though the Mishkan, the tabernacle, was made out of many different kinds of materials, including gold and silver and copper, and there was all sorts of very precious materials in there, there was nothing that glistened as much as the wash basin, which was made out of the women's mirrors. Now that is shocking because the women's mirrors was the one item that Moses was reluctant to accept as donations to the temple. Why? Because the women's mirrors were articles of seduction. Like the charoses that we spoke about the other day. Good morning, Elaine and Terry. Like the charoses which reminds us of the apple trees under which the women would seduce their husbands to entice them to have children, to bring children to this world. The mirrors, when the husbands would return home late at night, exhausted from labor, they would look into the wives would look at them together in the mirrors. And I mentioned this during the charoses, and they would see how they were exhausted, but their wives are so beautiful. And they would seduce their husbands. Say, look what a beautiful wife you have, and so on and so forth, right? So the mirrors were articles of seduction. Moses was reluctant to accept the mirrors. But Hashem said, nevertheless. Now watch what happens. What glistens the most? That which was initially rejected, right? Now that's an interesting Hayom Yom. What do we need to learn from this? So now I look at this through the lens of Yadata. And I see it like this. So the items that Moses was willing to accept, the gold and the precious stones and the silver and the copper, that was all straightforward stuff. That's all Elohim. It's all straightforward stuff. It's regular. It's Elohim. It's regular stuff that makes sense. Makes sense. But it's the stuff that's counterintuitive. It's when the teacher hides from the student. It's when the teacher tells a parable or a metaphor to the student. When the teacher turns away from the student, makes the student think that the teacher checked out. When bad things happen to us, right? When we experience darkness or confusion, right? When that which looks like it's like the mirrors, they look like they're not holy. This is not holy. This is seduction. Fat. You know what fat means, right? Why do we have to pay this? Yet it was the mirrors that were the most holy. They were the most shiny. Why? Because where do you find Havaya? You find Havaya Dafka in the darkness, not in the light. In the troubles and the challenges, not in the regular good times. That's what Moses asks of God. Why have you made this people suffer? And he answers, because I am Havaya. I've revealed Havaya to them. That's why. That was the answer at the end of the parasha of Shemos and the beginning of Va'era. Moses asks, why have you made them suffer so much? And he answers, because I revealed Havaya to them. You can only find Havaya, the true shining in the darkness, because it's too powerful to be delivered regularly. And that's the theme of Yodata, right? So where I'm going with this, friends, is that, now the realization that I had is that it was the mirrors that reflected the light. They shone through their reflection. What does it mean, reflection? Reflection means when the light bounces off of something. Reflection when the light bounces off, right? So it's a counterintuitive. A reflection means a counterintuitive element at play, where something goes forwards and backwards, right? So initially it looks like it's bad, but through higher consciousness you realize that it's really not just good, it's very good. It's very good, right? And that's the concept of the mirrors shining or reflecting. Same thing with us, right? So let's talk about us in a slightly different context. So let's talk about two generations of Jews. So let's say you had a generation of Jews maybe 1,000 years ago that everybody was rabbis and rebbitzins and prayed all day long. That's wonderful. Wonderful. Our generation is maybe a little different to that, where we're a lot more secular, a lot more physical oriented, right? So they were straightforward relationship with Hashem. We are convoluted relationship with Hashem. They're in a better place than we are. But when we reach higher consciousness, when we reinvent ourselves to the point that we redefine the purpose of the darkness, the purpose of the spiritual darkness in this case, that we take our physicality and our 3 homes and our 4 cars and our cruise ships and whatever else, and we turn that into a vessel to identify and recognize Hashem. Now it shines like the mirrors of the Beis HaMikdash, of the Mishkan, of the temple, of the tabernacle. You follow that? I mean, you got me there, Steve? You follow? A little too deep? So the mirror is something which looked like it was unholy. That's why Moses initially rejected it. But it turned out to be the most holy. How can that which is unholy become the most holy? Because that which is spiritually dark was uncovered to be, or discovered to be, the most light.
I don't buy into that the mirrors were not holy. They were the most holy things because they created light.
Well, that's because you're coming in from the answer, but apparently Moses didn't see it that way. Look.
Why was he doing it for a holy purpose?
Look.
Because Moses' father,
guys, let me put in a slightly different context, okay? Guys, let me give it in a slightly different context. It's easy when you're getting all academic about it, okay? But imagine if somebody wanted to donate to the shul inappropriate women's clothing.
Inappropriate.
Yeah. Wanted to donate. And they said, yeah, this is my contribution. What would you say? Would you be like, hello? Mirrors is mirrors, but let's get a little more personal here. You know what I mean? If it's something which is seductive clothing, like, hello, why are you donating this? This is not, you know what I mean? I don't want to say too much.
There's no purpose of that. Mirrors, there's a purpose for it.
There's no purpose. There's purpose.
Why not? Purpose of everything.
Lives together.
That's what Moses didn't say. What are you putting mirrors? What are we doing here? What is this? A hair salon? What are you doing?
He left his wife. I mean, come on, we got to put everything in context. He left his wife. He was not with the woman.
That's good.
Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, guys. Good morning, Winston, Juana, Garrett, Corey, Terry, Elaine, and Daniel. And to those that are with us here live, let's get into the modern day mitzvah. So, anyways, I'm just saying that when you saturate with your Adaita consciousness, everywhere you look, when you see darkness, you realize that there's a light. And remember, just remember the concept that I think Terry's saying this as well. So when the king hired the prostitute to seduce his son, this is the famous analogy in the Zohar, which was actually in yesterday's Tanya as well. She was like a mirror allowing the prince to reveal his higher light. Yes. 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 The bad things that happen to us are vessels of great light. We just got to crack it open. A lot of Chassidus is designed to bring out this point that we shouldn't be shallow and judge by the side of our eyes, but to perceive with the light that's deep within. That to remember that there's only light, there's no darkness. There's a light that is weak that we can see, and there's a light that's so powerful that we can't see it. But if you put on the right shield, you'll be able to see it. Elaine retracted some comments over there. Which is, by the way, just to give it a slightly different context, why is it that a tzaddik is lower than a Baal Teshuvah? A Baal Teshuvah is a returnee to Yiddishkeit, and a tzaddik is somebody that never sinned. Tzaddik should be much higher. It says in the Talmud, the place that the Baal Teshuvah reach in heaven is higher than the place that the tzaddik can ever reach. Why is that? Because he's reflected light. He's initially darkness, and from the darkness came a greater light. When the darkness is conquered, it reveals even a much greater light. Elaine, you're on the same page as Steve Wasserstrom here. Weren't the mirrors the instrument of preserving the Jewish people? Yeah, so apparently you guys understood more than Moses, okay? Which is probably because you have the answer before the question, so you don't understand the question. Exactly, because Moses blazed this trail for you. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? All right. So what were you going to say, Steve? Develop the theme of Moses' veil. Moses' veil. So Moses' face shone from the revelation of Mount Sinai. He wore a veil. It's the 6 parashas. Tomorrow's Torah reading, right? He wore a veil. Masveh. By the way, Michelangelo misread he had a bad translation of the Bible. So it says Moses' face radiated light. So he wore a mask. Like us, we all wear masks. Except we don't radiate light, we radiate germs. So the word radiate in Hebrew can also be misread as horn. So Michelangelo's Hebrew was atrocious. He should stick to art and stay away from linguistics. Yeah. So he understood that to mean a horn, and therefore he figured that Moses had a horn. Yeah. So why did Moses wear a mask? It's an interesting concept.
I mean, in what we're studying now, that's what I'm looking at. How we're studying.
The reason is because there was an intensity of light upon him. There's an intensity of light upon his face. Why was there an intensity of light upon his face? Because he was exposed to the divine. It's too much light for us to see. It's going to hurt us. It's going to hurt us. Remember the four sages that entered into the paradise, into the divine orchard, which was a godly revelation, with devastating, disastrous results. One of them died. One of them lost his mind. Sorry, one of them lost his mind. Another one lost his faith.
Where's the fly strips I got you?
One lost his mind. One lost his life. One lost his faith, and only Rabbi Kiva came out in peace. Because too much revelation is too intense for us.
I mean, okay, we understand that. Let's go one step further. Based upon what we're learning.
Based upon what we're learning, the mask would create a darkness, a concealment, which makes a receptacle for a greater light. In other words, how will you be able to reach the level of your teacher, of your Moses? If you try to plug into him directly, he's going to blow you out of the ballpark. He's just so much higher. The lampshade is what it is. It's the darkness. It's the suffering. It's the struggle. It's the concealment of God's face, Hester Panim, which we mentioned the other day in the Talmud, which makes the light palatable. That's what it is. It's exactly that concept.
But that's common sense. But we're going deeper, which really the light changer, in this case the veil, is really greater light.
Yeah, that's what Viadat is saying, that the darkness is a greater light. Yeah. I learned yesterday in the Talmud about a blind man. Blind sage who was visited by 2 rabbis, and one of them wanted to stay behind. One of the visiting rabbis said to the other, "You stay behind. I'll go visit him." And he said, "No, I'll come with you." So they go together to the blind man, and he gives him a blessing. He says that just like you came to visit he who can be seen but cannot see you, so too may you merit to experience he who can see you but cannot be seen, which is Hashem. Our daughter was talking to us, our 3-year-old Devorah was talking to us the other day, and she was frustrated about something. So she turned away and we asked her, "What are you doing?" She said, "I'm asking Hashem." She wanted Hashem to help her with something. So we said, "Okay, what did he say?" He doesn't talk. He doesn't talk. So Hashem sees you but cannot be seen. It's interesting. So why am I telling that story about the blind man? Because the Talmud calls the blind man there abundance of light. Calls them, there was an interesting term it used from, not Sagi Nahor, but I don't know. There's an interesting term. It called him an abundance of light. Because when you have so much light, you become blind. Somebody shines a large amount of light in your eyes, you go blind. It's too much. right? You need to make sure that you can customize, slowly to the lights. Acclimate. Let's do a quick few minutes on the mitzvah of the day, guys, right? Because this whole V'yadaita mindset it's unbelievable. It is? Of this or of V'yadaita? Somebody said to me yesterday, I wrote it in the book. Did you read the book? It's in the book. So somebody said to me yesterday about the book, he said, Rabbi, I read the book once. I need to read it 10 more times. Which is interesting. I was like, wow. Another guy said to me that, I got a big compliment from Robert. He said it was V'yadaita for dummies. V'yadaita for dummies. Yeah, he said it was brought down, which is good. But I'm waiting to hear your feedback, especially Terry. We're going to send you a copy in the mail. Hopefully it's going to go out today, I hope. And we'll be able to hear your feedback. Everybody, please do give me a feedback. We'd love to hear. A little bit of a mitzvah of the day, right, guys? But just remember, it's a consciousness. It's a set of glasses. It's V'yadaita glasses. Don't ever take them off. You got them on. Don't ever take them off. You got to practice every single day your V'yadaita meditation. When you get into that V'yadaita meditation, you got your 30 days in the book. Keep it up every day, and you'll get into that mindset, and you'll never see darkness again.
Because we've talked about that.
Yeah.
It's like
it's too much light. Because he's saying it's too much light, so therefore they don't teach it. Because it's darkness. So what we did is we're like, okay, come close. Slowly, small steps, right? Mitzvah of the day, number 26. It is a positive commandment to count 7 whole weeks from the day that the Omer was brought at the sanctuary. What is this? The day the Omer was brought. The Omer is an offering that was brought on the second day of Pesach. The Omer was the offering that signified the new season. It was basically a business offering. It was saying to God, thank you for providing us with our needs. Thank you for providing us with our needs, with the crops. And the first of the crops goes to who? To Hashem. That's the barley offering, which is the Omer. Because the barley is the new crop, right? So what now happens is that the second day of Pesach is when the Omer was brought. And we count 7 weeks from that day, 49 days until what? Until Shavuot, till the Torah was given on Mount Sinai. Now, this is a very, very strange mitzvah. It's like a backward mitzvah. Because there really is very little connection between the Omer offering on the second day of Pesach and the giving of the Torah 50 days later. When you count something down, you go like, okay, 3 weeks of the wedding, 2 weeks of the wedding, 1 week of the wedding. Imagine counting like this. Like, okay, today is 3 weeks from the engagement. Today is 4 weeks from the engagement. It's like counting backwards. You count to something, not from something. You see what I'm saying, right? It's very, very strange mitzvah. There's a lot to talk about here.
Our internal selves, our character. That's what it's from. And every day you're getting to a higher level.
The improvement of our internal selves.
Well, the severus and everything else. That's what it's all about. I mean, there's a whole book on how each day represents another part of your character that you're trying to work on, improve.
Yeah, but you're going deep now. You're getting spiritual about the character improvement of each of the 7 days of the 7 weeks. But what's the Omer got to do with it? You're preparing for Shavuos. Wonderful.
It's our animalistic thing that we're getting rid of.
Okay, so hang on. So you're counting down to the coming to the giving of the Torah, which is a very positive thing to do. It's the happiest day in Jewish history, the day that God chose us to be his people, right? It's God's marriage to us. Is the Torah, the ring he gave us is the Torah, right? God married us. Wonderful. We're counting down. But the fact that we're counting down from the Omer is very perplexing. Why don't we count to the day and not from the day? Which actually just inspired me to an interesting idea about how we can evolve this study. So we're learning now the concise book of Mitzvahs. Do you remember about a year ago, we were learning a book called the Sefer HaChinuch, the book of education, which goes through all 613 commandments in their details. So the Chinuch has a magnificent explanation on how this operates. So I'm thinking of actually moving forward, of doing this in tandem with the book of Chinuch, where each mitzvah that we come across, we'll do it in short, and then we'll do it a little bit longer, so we have much more context and much more details to each of the mitzvahs. I think it'll be a lot more fun, because this one, I mean, the way he describes over there is so beautiful. He's basically, the answer in short is that he says 2 things. First of all, he says, when you count and you got a long way to go, it's demotivating. So if you count today's 49 days to the wedding, it's a long time. When you say the word one, today's one day of the Omer, from the Omer, the word one in our klipa perception, our klipa mindset, we're influenced by what we see, even though our minds understand differently. So like when you buy something that says $999, it's much better than if it was $1,000, right? It's funny. It's just so weird. $1.99 is much more appealing than $2. Why? Because when you see that one at the beginning, your klipa mindset, your superficial mindset says it's one. Yeah. So it's the same concept of sales, any sales. The point is, it's all the marketing because we judge by the vision of our eyes, not the mind, not the understanding of our minds, right? V'yodaita turns that upside down. It teaches us how to use the understanding of our minds and to overcome the klipa mentality, right? So when we say today is one day of the Omer, the one energizes us into action, motivates us to jump into action. That's what the one does, right? It makes us jump into action. But if we were to say 49 days, it would be like, oh, I have so much time, I'm not doing anything, right? So even though it's the same thing in our minds, right? It's very interesting using V'yodaita to explain this. So we'll carry on, God willing, next week as we expand the idea more. I have a meeting to go into right now, but I thank you all for joining me here today. It's interesting how we use V'yodaita to understand today's Yom Yom and V'yodaita to understand today's mitzvah, right? Yeah.
And I thought that was very good.
I'll discuss with you shortly. But the idea here is, guys, in closing, the idea here is that V'yodaita changes everything we see about everything. It's a perception. It's glasses. When you have glasses, everything changes, right? Oh, this is blue. Oh, that's purple. Oh, this is tall. Oh, that's short. Everything changes when you have the right focus. So keep your glasses on every day, guys. All right? So, Darabah, thank you all. Have a wonderful day. So, Marty.